In order to understand the return of Jesus Christ, we need to understand the gospel. And usually when we talk about the gospel, we focus on one particular part, which is the cross of Jesus Christ, which is glorious, beautiful, and needs to be emphasized over and over again. But I don't think that is the only part that is important in the gospel. The gospel, or another word for it, the good news, as it is translated, is also preached in Revelation chapter 14 verse 6 by an angel flying in the heavenlies. And he has the everlasting gospel in his mouth. And I think as we look at the everlasting gospel, the gospel of the kingdom, we can break it down to 4 really simple, really easy parts. Number 1, we all know this, creation. At the beginning, God created man and He created woman. He wanted mankind to be in deep, intimate relationship with Him. Number 2, the fall. Evil came into the world. Satan came into the garden, deceived Adam and Eve. They partook of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, and that relationship between God and man was broken. And here's where the good news comes in. We see the original intent of creation, and we see that separation, and now the gospel kicks in saying that is not the end of the story. The end of the story is when God is bringing all those pieces back together. And so we follow the storyline of God through human history, through the Old Testament, until we arrive in the New Testament and we arrive with Jesus on the scene. And then Jesus lives a perfect, sinless life. He dies on the cross for all our iniquities, for all that we've done. He imputes the very righteousness of God to us as we put our faith in Him. And we are now righteous before God as He is righteous. What a glorious, beautiful truth. But that is not the end of the story. When Jesus came and died on the cross, yes, He died to have us being renewed on the inward. Our spirit is made new. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, it tells us we are a new creation in Christ Jesus. That is not the ultimate destination of a believer. In Romans chapter 8, there's something more. It's called the adoption. Obviously, right now we are adopted into the family of God, but there's the ultimate adoption when our bodies are transformed into a glorious body, which is the same body that Jesus received when He rose from the grave. And that happens when Jesus comes back. And that brings us to the 4th point of the gospel presentation. The 4th point is the restoration of all things. There is a day in human history when Jesus will split the sky and make Himself known to all of humanity. He will set up His kingdom from Jerusalem to the ends of the earth. And then it says in Habakkuk that the ends of the earth, the whole earth, will be filled with the glory of God as the water cover the seas. The gospel of Jesus Christ is comprised of those 4 elements. If you go to the streets and you preach the gospel and somebody has never heard of the Bible and never heard of Jesus, I bring up those 4 points. Creation, the fall of man, the redemption through Jesus Christ, and one day His coming again for us, that we would be with Him forever. And so the return of Christ is central, and it is within the bounds of the gospel of the kingdom.